Chemo, chemo, chemo. Chemo was not fun. Chemo was a beast, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And I didn't even have a bad chemo experience. Hey there, my name's Beth, and this is the Cancer Diaries, and this one's all about chemotherapy. Let's get that cough drop out of the mouth first. So chemo. I had 6 rounds of chemo. I started beginning of February and ended at the end of May. There was a couple months there where I had 2 chemos in a month. So it was probably about more than 4 months, 6 rounds, as opposed to 6 months. Hold on. I don't know where I put my chemo folder. I haven't looked at it in a while. I was going to pull it out because I can't remember exactly what I had. I had a longer chemo session for the day I'm there. How it went for me is Monday, I'd go to the hospital, I'd have labs and see whomever I was seeing, because I'm rural, so I'm spread out at this point between 3 cities and 3 different hospitals, 2 of which are in the same system and 1 which is not. So things get kind of... So my experience is probably going to be a little different than if you're all at one hospital, because I am rural and Billings is a little far to go, and my local hospital offers chemotherapy through their infusion lab. So I went to the local hospital for my chemo as opposed to down to Billings or over to Bozeman. So how my day would go is go in Monday, I get my labs taken, and then I would see some form of provider, whether it was a doctor or a nurse practitioner, and basically their job was just to pronounce me healthy enough to have chemotherapy the next day and address any concerns, issues that were happening, things like that. So if I needed refills on anything or whatever was happening, I could talk to them, ask them questions, along with the infusion nurses who were extremely knowledgeable. And one of the things I really suggest is don't be squeamish about talking about what's happening. They've heard it all. You're not going to freak them out. You're not going to gross them out. They're nurses and doctors who are used to dealing with this. And if you're having issues, be specific. Family friend had an infection under his nails. And he's like, look at my fingers, look at my fingers. And unfortunately, his nurses did not say, what do you want me to see here? Where am I supposed to look? Just say, hey, I have this infection under my fingernail. Because your fingernails will do weird things. This one right here, let's see if we can get them down, used to be like down there. You see that white area? It's not attached to the nail bed. And that was about halfway down my finger a couple months ago. Part of the reason why I went to film today was I want to paint my nails tonight and you can't see this finger. This was the worst one I had. I had, to some extent, on mostly my middle finger, my ring finger, and my little finger, a little bit on the pointer, not so much on the big finger, and also my big toes are a little bit funky looking right now, but it'll grow out. So weird stuff happens because the quick cells are being... It's aimed at things that with quick cells. So your hair falls out. That's a whole video on itself because that's not fun. Hair falls out. Your nails get a little weird. Your skin gets weird. Mine was really dry and felt kind of rough. But yeah, so I had a longer... So it's like first day. I'm getting all distracted by chemo stuff. So first day, go in, labs and stuff, because they monitor pretty much a lot of systems to make sure you're okay. And if you're not, you don't get to have treatment. Luckily, that did not happen to me during chemo. I was always well enough to have my chemo treatment. And then I'd come in the next day at 9 and we would start my pre-meds, which took about an hour. So it was long-acting anti-nauseas, Benadryl. I also got a sedative because of the anti-nausea aspects of that sedative, and I also had the added benefit of just mellowing you out and, you know, helping you take a nap for the 3 hour, I think it was carboplaxin. I had carboplaxin, I think it was. I don't know where my chemo folder is, so I could be massacring something. And then I had paclitaxel. One of them was 3 hours, and the other was, I think, an hour. Plus, I also received Avastin, which was a half hour. I was there all day. So by the time you put in the orders, get the meds, get hooked up. The first two, I did not have a port. That's what this little area is, that just they can access it directly through underneath my skin. It makes life easier. First 2 rounds of chemo, they had to do it through IV, through my vein. And the first time they were able to get through the side. And because chemo just, it messes up your veins, frankly. I don't know how people do chemotherapy without a port or some kind of PICC line thing. I don't know, understand PICC line. I barely understand my port. So don't ask me about PICCs, because they're through the arm and I don't know. But yeah, so the first one they managed to get one of the bigger veins on the side. And the second round, because of the anemia and the chemotherapy, my veins are crap now. Yeah. And so I ended up with, this is my dominant right hand, with a IV line in the crook of my arm, and I could not move my arm for the whole day. I had to keep it straight. And mind you, I'm there like 6 hours. I'm there a long time. I would get there around 9. I leave there around 4. Sometimes around 4:35. It just depended on how long things take, because sometimes the pharmacy is backed up, so your medicine takes longer and stuff like that. But yeah, so I already had the appointment for the port, and by that one, I was like, port me up, baby. Get me that port thing. And that, yeah, I would highly recommend the port if you're having chemotherapy. So they draw the blood through this. This is what's called a smart port, so they can draw the blood through it. They can put the chemo through it. They can put the contrast for the scans through it, so you're not being stabbed all the time, and it's no fun. And if you do have one, carry the information with you, because that way, if you do have an emergency, they know about your port and what it can do, if they can access it. So yeah, but I had 6 rounds and it sucked. Fatigue, neuropathy, that's hand, feet pain. And then having stupid moment, brain fog. There was one other thing, and now it's gone. I can only remember 2 problems at a time. But yeah, it was not fun. The week of chemo was, nothing was happening for me. The day after, I was kind of restless. I wasn't very sleepy, and then by the next day, I would sleep like 20 hours. I mean, quite literally, I almost slept the whole day. I was only up to pee and eat. And otherwise, I was out. Get up, eat breakfast, zonk back out. Wake up sometime, have lunch, zonk back out. Wake up sometime, have dinner. And really, I'd zonk back out and sleep the rest of the night. And then by the next day, I was not quite so tired. I'd probably still take a nap, because it would be a Friday at that point. After the sleepy day was Thursday. And Friday, I'd kind of be feeling better, but I couldn't concentrate on anything. I couldn't read. Even watching a well-loved TV show was really, really hard to do. Concentration. It messed with my brain, and I've really hated that a lot. Really hated that a lot. And then by Saturday, I started feeling better, but I still was feeling shitty. And then usually by Sunday, I was fine. But that chemo week, nothing was happening. And some people are like, yeah, I was just fine. And I wasn't. My brain, even in the weeks that you get to recover because you have chemo, and then you have the rest of the week, and then 2 other weeks that are there so you can recover from what they've done to you, and you just don't get lots of. And each chemo is different. Let me just tell you, because if all you know about chemotherapy is from the movies and TV, yeah, it's not accurate at all. Everyone's different. Everybody's chemo is different, and there's different kinds of chemo. And I got mine through infusion. Some people get pills and stuff like that, and some people have to take stuff home with them. I didn't have to. Thank the gods. But yeah, chemo sucked. I didn't like chemo. I had 6 rounds. It was rough. Did not like it. Lost my hair after the first round. Started big time, and that's going to be dealt with in a video all of its own. One of the things that I did do, though, that my nurse recommended was L-glutamine. And it was 2 ounces, 2 times a day on chemo day, and then for the next 3 days. 1 ounce of L-glutamine is a lot of glutamine. I ended up mixing it in pudding. I tried doing it in water, but it was so disgusting. I just wanted to stop not drinking water. I didn't want water anymore. And you're having enough taste shifts as it is. Oh, that was it. Taste shifts was the other big one. By the end, I could barely drink water. It was so disgusting. And even frozen pizza was starting to tasting icky. Yeah. But I ended up putting it in chocolate pudding. It still has little clumps, so if you do put it in chocolate pudding, I just make some instant pudding. I go through about 2 boxes on chemo week. And chocolate was the best. Chocolate, used chocolate. Butterscotch was okay. Vanilla, not good. Pistachio, not good. Butterscotch was acceptable-ish. Chocolate pudding was the best. The chocolate's assertive enough. It kind of gets rid of the glutamine taste because it's 1 ounce. It's a lot of glutamine. Or putting it in a smoothie would probably work too, but I just wanted to get it over with and in my body, and so I put in the pudding and shovel it in. The other one that I liked was applesauce, and if you have issues with clumpy things, the applesauce, it incorporates really nicely into and didn't taste really horrid. So chocolate pudding and applesauce for the L-glutamine, if you're going to supplement with that for neuropathy, is my suggestion. And it worked really well for me. The first chemo, I did not have it, and my hands and feet hurt so freaking bad. And I mean, they hurt. They hurt a lot. And so I ordered some, and pretty much did it. Towards the end, I would miss the last day sometimes because I was sick of it. But it helped a lot. The pain was never that intense again. And every once in a while, there was 2 times that my shins hurt painfully, and I was walking around with leg warmers and sweats on. Leg warmers under my sweats because my shins hurt so bad. And the warmer they were, the better they felt. It was also winter in Montana, so I was also cold a lot too because I had no hair. I had chemo fuzz. Yeah, if you've seen chemo fuzz, you've seen it. The head's bald, but there's a little fuzzy stuff on top. Yeah, I had that. I just wore hats and scarves. I did not get a wig. Hair loss, I'll deal with that because it's it was an ordeal. I did not like it. It is not recommended. I hated it. Yeah. So I went through 6 rounds. Don't know if I'll do more chemo or not because I'm not in remission yet as of this point of filming. So we'll see what happens. So, but yeah, if neuropathy for me, I use the L-glutamine. I don't hear a lot about it. I know the naturopaths recommend it, and so did my nurse. And every time I tell someone I used it, they're like, "Oh, really?" And it worked. So they're always very excited to hear my input. But everybody's different, and every chemo's different. Even your own chemo, depending on your weight and stuff like that, and what your reactions are different. One thing I did not, varies. So mine pretty much stayed the same because my weight remained very stable. I didn't have issues with hemoglobin. I was already I think I was about a 7 or 8 when I went into chemo, and I went up to about 11 and stabilized at 11 for my hemoglobin. So I remained mildly anemic. I'm at a 12 now. Still mildly anemic, but I didn't have issues with that. I didn't have issues with platelets. I didn't have Nalester, anything like that. My bone marrow maintained the ability to keep manufacturing what needed to be manufactured. I was able to maintain my hemoglobin and my weight. I did not have a lot of nausea though. Chemo week, because multiple people told me to. I just took my anti-nausea meds for the first 3 days, and by the time I hit 4-day, I usually forgot because I wasn't nauseous. But I also got 2 long-acting anti-nauseas on treatment day, so that probably played a role in it. I tolerated it fairly well. It still wasn't fun. Chemo week was always my worst week. I was able to do gentle exercise, and I do think that helped quite a bit. I did mostly mobility work, nothing really hard, because if you're trying to, chemo kills fast acting cells, which is why things go really weird and your hair falls out and all this kind of stuff. And if you're doing a hard workout, you can't recover from it like you would normally, because fast-acting cells and stuff are compromised. So I just took it easy, did mobility work, did some yoga, tried to get my balance back after surgery, that kind of stuff. But yeah, chemo sucked. I didn't like it. But, you do what you gotta do to live. And so, yeah. But the L-glutamine, for me, really helped the hand and foot pain. And sometimes my hands would turn bright red. This was really funny. We still don't really know. But from here, it started right here, just the fingers on the palm side, down to my hands would be bright red, and sometimes my feet would be bright red too. And it was more like a sunburn. Probably should have took some Benadryl, but I never did. But yeah, they would turn bright red. It was not attractive. It was just kind of interesting and didn't really hurt. They were kind of hot, almost like a sunburn. And my nails kind of got weird, like you can see with that one. And that looks so much better. It used to be halfway down. I started painting my nails because I just was grow out, and it wasn't growing out. But yeah, it's just weird, and everyone's going to have different reactions. Ask questions. I asked a lot of questions. What am I doing? What does this do? What does that do? Things like that. If they do offer you the sedative, I would suggest half, because it was pretty potent, and I only had half of the sedative, and if I would have took the whole thing, I would have been drooling. It was pretty potent, and it did make it nice because I usually slept through that 3-hour infusion. And then I'd wake up in time for lunch, because I would eat breakfast there and lunch there, because it was breakfast time occurred when I had to go to the hospital, so it was just easier to eat there. Yeah, I'm still getting infusions, still on Avastin. Avastin was the immunotherapy I started on, and for my last chemo I also got Keytruda. I can't remember the real names of them, and I don't know where I put my chemo file that has those in them too. I don't know. Probably put it in a safe place, but yeah. So I had a long one. Some people are just there an hour or so, a couple hours. I was there all day long. And I didn't take a lot with me. I took some entertainment with me. I usually didn't use it. I couldn't read very well. I always took my iPad so I could watch art classes if I wanted to, and didn't really. I usually just kind of ended up sleeping and staring out the window there. They have a really nice view, so that was pleasant. So, and I was drugged up and had chemo brain. And this is when I'm long enough, me babbling about my chemo experience. Yeah, it wasn't fun. Not my most favorite part of treatment. Not that any part of treatment has been my most favorite part. The one thing that really just is the ability to think. The cognition aspect was really, really difficult for me. because I couldn't really do anything chemo week other than nap and kind of lay there because I could not concentrate on anything. It was really difficult to. So yeah, that was my chemo experience in a very rambly, babbly way. So yeah. Well, everyone have a great day and go out there and be the love in the world. Bye-bye.